All right, good morning. Tim Sykes here, pre-market video. So many questions, so many students to congratulate, so many crazy plays. I don't even know where to begin. I guess I'll begin with FFIE, which literally, Jack was buying this and alerting this in the 6 cent area. And it went basically from, one day before here. Like, I can't pull back the chart, or can I? Yeah, I can. I'll be real with you. I'm not great with technology. But FFIE, this was a 5 cent stock and it went up to nearly $4. This fits my 7-step framework to a T. Okay? So I will link the 7-step framework below. This is the blog post, and I really can't encourage you enough to learn everything you can about the 7-step framework. It's based on, greed and fear, but it's pretty crazy how similar almost every single big runner is and how it fits the 7-step framework. Obviously, FFIE, to a much crazier scale than I've ever seen or ever imagined. 6 cents up to $4 and then back down to $1, and now already pre-market, it's squeezing 75%. The volatility is crazy. The pre-market volume is crazy. I'm filming this at 5 a.m. Eastern. It's already traded 25 million shares. It's been trading 1 billion shares almost every single day lately. So congrats to those of you who nailed it. First, I'll start off with that. I'll link this 7-step framework. You really should memorize it. But I'll start off with so many alerts. This is why we have so many different tools to help you, whether it's Jack's new newsletter, whether it's XGPT, whether it's Stocks to Trade Breaking News. There's nobody who is in this trading niche that should not have seen FFIE, even if you missed it, okay? I missed it personally, and I'm not saying you have to trade every single big winner. I actually had a pretty tame week, now up 123K, on the year. But last week, I took it easy. I don't like the high stress situations. I had a roughly $7,000 a week. Not too bad, right? Leave a comment below if $7,000 a week is okay for you. I was not perfect. I took lots of losses. I took a really undisciplined trade on LIDR, which cost me nearly $2,000. So lots of mistakes, but still trading small, trading safe, and just capitalizing. And I missed, FFIE, GME, AMC, like the 3 biggest plays, and I missed them. I'm trading lower priced sympathy plays, but that's me, okay? At least if you have XGPT and you have Jack's newsletter, you know about this. And if you have any questions about XGPT or Jack's newsletter or really anything, just email admin@timothysykes.com. My team will help you. But congrats to so many people, especially Lucas. His nickname is the Short Bear. Literally made this $500,000 trade from dinner. I even forced him to take a picture or show the pictures of the dinner. I was like, it's pretty amazing. So this was the dinner we were having, and literally he's trading from there. And this is why I want you to understand, it's so difficult for newbies to grasp this because, look, you just want to make $500,000. That sounds amazing. But he actually shorted too early. So this is why I warn about shorting. It's not that you can't make money shorting. It's that you as a newbie don't have the experience, the know-how, the fund size, the skill to really pull this off. And Lucas did, but he didn't make $500,000 easily. He actually lost about $250 on the first attempt. He was shorting it here in these, high twos. And then he reshorted. So this is the problem. And, I know a lot of people were shorting from the ones because it was up from 6 cents and all the stats in all the world. And Dilution Tracker says that it should go down. Dilution Tracker doesn't matter. Stats don't matter. When there's so many short sellers, most people are just going to get absolutely annihilated, especially newbies. And it's not that there's no money to be made. Like Lucas from dinner was shorting into the 3s and he's covering into the 1s. Really good trade. Really cool to see. He made basically $1 million from dinner. And, he lost 250 and in the second trade was 750. So like overall on the day, he made basically $500,000. But it wasn't easy. Okay. And I want you to understand that when you're trying to short, there is money, but oftentimes people get wrecked. And most short sellers aren't going to talk about their losses. So understand that. I'm sorry. That's just like, the way of the world right now. Major props to Kyle Williams. He's one of my short bias millionaire students, and he got wrecked. He lost basically half of his yearly gains. At least he's transparent about it. And he lost, 390. Also, Jack, lost a little over 50,000 on the week. And you might wonder why, because like if you look at his gains, right? Like he had huge gains, like not even just his FFIE, which he nailed, for, on this one he made 68,000 on the short, but earlier he picked it at 6 cents. But, this is all last week. He made 200,000 nearly shorting AMC, 180,000 on his SINT long, which is awesome. Made 68,000 shorting FFIE on this one. Made another 44,000 shorting GME. Made another 35,000. Like, he crushed it. If you add all of this up, it's fantastic. The problem is, and this is why I warned about shorting, he also got crushed shorting. Those were his biggest gains on the week. These are his biggest losses. And he's so angry. He's like, just, we've talked a few times. He's more calm now, but it's scary, when he lost 400,000 in a day, then he lost over 100,000 the next day. Took his losses on GME too, but between these two, 600 grand, okay? 600 grand, and he's putting himself down. And I'm like, dude, keep it in perspective. Obviously it sucks that you lost so much, but FFIE was the outlier. The high twos, and he covered in the high twos, and that was the right decision for both of them to cover. The difference is Lucas got back in, and Jack was just mentally burnt out. His account size was much smaller because he trades with a small account. He wires in and wires out, so he couldn't retake the trade when it actually really mattered. And this is the problem with shorting. I piss off all the shorts by saying like don't short because I've made millions shorting. A lot of my millionaire students are short sellers. But again, in this environment, it is so tricky. And Lucas and Jack are two of the best traders that I know. Lucas barely made $500,000. And I know that sounds crazy, but like he barely made it. And this was after, lots of losses. And so he made, he ended up positive on the trade, but most people can't just come back from it, right? Like, Kyle, I think he made some of it back on Friday, but now I don't know if he's still short, and now FFIE is squeezing once again. It's so difficult. Lucas, Kyle, and Jack are three of the best short sellers that I know of in the entire world. They've each turned a few thousand into several million. More than half of their gains have come from shorting, although Jack, I think, has gotten better at going long lately. It's so difficult to try to pick the top, This seems already outrageous from, when Jack did buy it at 6 cents, to nearly $3. It looks like this is the top. But as I always say, when a really heavily shorted stock holds near its highs, it can squeeze higher. And this last squeeze, really got rid of a lot of over-aggressive shorts, Jack included. So I'm sure Jack will explain in detail his thoughts on Friday. He's giving a challenge webinar. Tell him not to be so hard on himself. Like it sucks to make 500 grand and then lose like 550 grand in a week. That's really, really bad. Back when I used to short sell, I would have my biggest losses before my biggest wins because short selling is such an inexact strategy. And this is why I warn everybody, especially newbies, not to try. When the best short sellers in the world are losing $500,000, and granted, they were early, they were wrong, they were over aggressive, they made mistakes, they're not perfect. But when the best short sellers in the world are losing $500,000 on a play like this, whether or not they have the capital or the mental stability afterwards to make it back, it should help you understand it's not for the weak. And to Jack, Kyle, and Lucas's credit, they show all of their trades. 99% of short sellers don't. okay? You have to understand this stock blew up several short selling chat rooms. They're not going to admit it publicly, okay? You know, short sellers, remember, they're the ones under investigation. There's several investigations into short sellers right now. They always want to say that they're so good, like Dilution Tracker, we're fundamental traders. They're shady. They're so shady. And they live in the shadows of Wall Street. And it's sad. I used to be a short seller, but it got way too shady, way too crowded of a strategy. I'm really glad not to short anymore. At least for now, okay? I still have my Trade Zero account open for shorts if I ever want to, but I don't think that it's good risk reward. And, you know, I started this video by, you know, dedicating a good part of it to short selling and, you know, showing you, okay, Lucas overcame it and he banked, but Jack and Kyle, you know, didn't bank. And I know how many other shorts who are too scared or too cowardly or too insecure to share their losses, you know, publicly. Short sellers just got wrecked. And I encourage you, if you are in any short selling chat room or if you're learning from any short seller, say, hey, how did you do on FFIE? Show me all your trades. And invariably, you'll get blocked or ignored. Every single short seller that's out there was shorting this because it was just too like, you know, amazing of a setup. And many of them shorted in the ones, in the twos, and got wrecked in the threes. So I got to share with you about that. But at the same time, I got to show you the good side too. Because I say this, I say in the wake of such widespread destruction amongst all penny stock short sellers, look at what some of my students are doing. And these are students who have learned to go long. They've learned to take singles on FFE overnight, like OV. Look at this, doubling the money overnight. CRKN also was a big spiker. We'll go over that in a second. AKN was a big spiker. FSRN was a big spiker. BURU, DUO. I mean, there's so many plays. So what you can take away from FFIE, obviously don't short too aggressively because you never know where the top is. When it does crack, be very careful about dip buying. Some people said, why am I not dip buying? Well, Lucas and I were actually at dinner. So Lucas was trading on his phone. I really don't like trading on the phone. I could have theoretically dip bought and, you know, made some money on, like, there's 1 bounce here, 2 bounces, 3 bounces, 4 bounces. So every, like, intraday crash was followed by a bounce. But this is a really dangerous strategy because what if you miss selling into the bounce and then you keep doubling up, tripling up, quadrupling up, and it's such a slippery slope. I really don't like dip buying in the afternoon. Part of the reason why I went to dinner is because I was just like, I don't want to be tempted to trade. You know, if you do dip buy one of these plays after the big crack, you're playing with fire. Just like shorts are playing with fire, shorting too aggressively, dip buyers are playing with fire, you know, trying to dip buy these plays in the afternoon where the trend has obviously changed. And now you say, well, Tim, like, you know, got all the way down to 80 cents, now up to $2, so nearly tripled off the lows. You know, dip buying does work. Again, you're playing with fire. Yes, there's a short squeeze right now because I'm sure some shorts, you know, just got too over aggressive thinking that it would never bounce. But it could have been halted. It might not have bounced. Like, I really want you to learn not just what happens in the stock market. Like, okay, it went up, I should have bought. But think about the risks. Like, what if it got halted? This is such a sketchy stock. I would say there's probably, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15% chance that it could have been halted over the weekend. And regulators take a look at it and they're like, what's going on? Why is this so manipulated? That could have happened. And then if it gets halted with some investigation, whoever has been pumping it up or buying, you know, probably would get, you know, discovered. And the stock would probably open 2 weeks later, like down 99%. And your account would suffer and your cash in this position would be held up. You wouldn't even be able to trade it. So I thought that was a risk. So I was really happy just to avoid it. You know, when you don't know, sometimes the best plan is to do nothing. I'll include another video that I made on BNED here. This is my weekend play. Put in a little over $2,000 and I made nearly $1,000. Okay. This is my kind of play because it's so much easier. Stocks to Trade breaking news alerted the news. Late Friday, activist investor announces a 10% stake. If you read through their, you know, activist letters, they say that BNED is very undervalued. They're trying to push it to do a deal. On a Friday afternoon with an activist investor in this market, with a heavily shorted stock that's priced for bankruptcy, like this was one of the easiest trades that I've ever done. You don't have to guess. You don't have to predict the news. The news came out. All you have to do is use stocks to trade breaking news and recognize what a Friday short squeeze looks like. And I know this was in my weekend newsletter, so some people say, Tim, you're supposed to hold it over the weekend. When I make 40% plus, and actually on one piece that I sold, 50% plus, I'm not going to hold it over the weekend. You never have to hold the play overnight. This is the thing, For me, I'm so focused on trying to take the meat of the move. There's no hard rules. Obviously, it's a weekend newsletter. My goal is to hold over the weekend. But if my goals are already met, you don't have to push it. You don't have to say, well, my goals are met, but I have to hold it over the weekend. No, you don't. Take those damn profits. And this was a really low risk, really solid trade. For me, AKAN and CRKN were very nice. These are just a few $100s, but these are sympathy plays to FFIE. Actually, CRKN is already coming back now too. Pre-market, we'll see how high it goes. But these two plays really spiked a lot because they were such low price junkers. Again, 5 cents up to, 60 cents on CRKN. But I was in for this breakout, okay? And this is the thing with breakouts too. Just like I taught you, okay, FFIE, over aggressive shorts, very scary. Dip buying in the afternoon, very scary. Looking for a breakout on an overextended stock like this, you take the breakout and you don't look back. Same thing with FFIE. Remember, this did break out. Okay, a lot of people weren't sure if it was going to break over 3. It did break over 3 for a little bit and then came back down and crashed. This was a fake out breakout. But this whole fake out squeezed a lot of over aggressive shorts. Why did they cover? Some people will say, Tim, well, if you're shorting it here at 3 and it goes up, like you don't have to cover, and then it's down to 1. So there's $2 a share of downside if you're shorting this at 3 and only like 80 cents of upside. But you don't know how high it can go, okay? This was a Friday short squeeze too. So even though this stopped in the 380s, who knows if it had been halted, not for, investigatory purposes, but for volatility halts. That's been going around. And what if the shorts, you're getting squeezed, and if you're shorting this at 270, 280, 290, like Jack, Kyle, and Lucas were, and a whole bunch of other shorts who were too cowardly to admit their positions publicly, you don't know if it's going to go to the 4s or the 5s or the 6s. So they're trading with so much size, they had to cut their losses quickly. With CRKN, this is the beauty of trading with a small account, okay? This is why while everyone wants to trade like Jack, Lucas, and Kyle, guess what? Once upon a time, they traded with a small account too, okay? Jack and Kyle grew their account in the challenge. Lucas never joined the challenge. A lot of people ask me, Lucas has studied so much. He's like a boy wonder. He's just turning 24. It's his upcoming birthday, but it's crazy. He studied everything. He still studies everything. But what you guys are all missing, you want to trade big. You're not ready for the stress. You haven't had the data. You're not ready for it. And there's actually a lot of benefits of trading small. CRKN, this was a really good trade by me. Very small position. Again, I'm using like $3,000, but if you can use $3,000 to make a few $100s, that's a good trade, okay? All I wanted to do was have it break out. So CRKN, I'm buying it at 45, like right in here. And I'm thinking that it can retest this level in the 50s. And whether it retests the 52 level and fails, or if it keeps going, this is a good chart to buy really quickly. Not to hold, not to say, oh, it broke out, it has to hold the breakout. I went in very meticulously near the open. Goal is for a breakout. And even before the open, I said, watch for a potential breakout. So if you're in the chat room, this is why I want you in the chat room. Learn from my commentary too, not just, this trade, which is really quick. But I sold it, didn't look back. It did obviously go a little higher, to 60, but I don't care. With a small account, you can do this trade every single time with a few thousand shares, and you don't have to risk whether the breakout is a fake out or not. Same thing here. on AKAN, made roughly $500. Buying this low price spiker with big volume, similar action to CRKN. Let's see how far it can go. Okay, this was AKAN on the morning spike right here. And I'm just buying it to see how high it can go. I didn't know that it was going to spike all the way up to 60. I didn't know that it was going to fail so quickly. I think they did an offering too. Which one was it? Right in here. Yeah. They announced an offering when it was in the 40 areas, and they announced an offering at 10 cents. So this is the thing. You look at this chart and you say, Tim, how did you make money on your long? Just this. This is all I need. It was already breaking out. I took a small position in the 40s, low 40s, got out in the high 40s. I just traded it safe. It all got all the way up to 60s. So these kinds of trades are not exciting or as exciting as FFIE or, AMC. But I had a really solid little gain on both CRKN and AKAN. And then BNED, again, there'll be a other video lesson attached to this, just so you can understand, because, these are small speculative wins on small positions. Anybody can do it. You don't need a big account. You don't need a lot of experience. You should obviously study as much as you can. You should be cynical. A lot of people buy stocks like AKN or CRKN and they just hold. I'm going in very specifically for a small gain. If you ask traders about me, they'll say like I'm cowardly. I trade, in and out way too quick. I don't care. That's what's worked for me, and it's low stress, so I love it. And this is what all my students are learning. Look at NH Optimist, CRKN in the 30s, out in the 50s, 52% gain. E90 Swag, $265 profit in 3 minutes. Nails making 40 cents on FFIE. Todd making 50% on AKAN. Koo the Spider making 60%. FSRN, this is another big spiker. Larinade, nice 40 cents on FFIE. BURU also spiked. Parvy Trade, Ellen the Wolf Hunter, and that's why I said I'm just so proud. I am so proud of so many of you. People mock this, outsiders mock this. I know that it's trades like this that help build your account. Later on, you can take bigger positions. Also got to give props to, Dan Cameron, working 13-hour days, but he's still squeezing in 1-2 hours of study, 8 hours a day of study on his day off, made $440. Also got a LLC and a line of credit. I love it. This is what my challenge is all about. Cam is another great student. Best day since he started the challenge, locking in singles, nailed GWAV, CYN, FFIE, CRKN. Taking singles adds up. You don't need to be stressed. Gabe also, this is awesome. Really 3 good days of trading, and he lost one day. That's trading. But he said all longs in relatively small size, just to help you understand that it's pretty much the same thing that I'm doing. Also Hertz, I got to give props to him. On Friday, $600, first four-digit day yesterday, $3,000 on the week. Best week ever. I made more than what I've been averaging a month this year in 1 week. All it takes is, good setups, good plays, and preparation. So I say this, shorts can make whatever excuses they want, use dilution, fundamental analysis. It doesn't stop FFIE being one of the best longs in decades. 4 cents to 330 at the time when I tweeted it. It got all the way up to 380 in 4 trading days. How does this happen? I linked about shorting supernovas. Be grateful. There's so many arrogant shorts. You have to understand, arrogance kills, okay? I always say stay humble because we're one bad trade away from being humbled by the market. Short sellers are so arrogant. If you ever meet them, they're so confident, fundamental analysis is the key. Oh, Tim, you're buying these little speculative plays. You make a little money here or there. But the way to make big money is to recognize which companies are overvalued or a scam and then short them. And they're not wrong most of the time, but it's always the outliers like FFIE that crush them. And whether they lose a third of their account, half their account, all their account, or a third of their yearly gains, half their gains, or all their yearly gains, it doesn't matter. If you keep opening yourself up to these outliers, it doesn't matter how much you make because you're still just one bad trade, one bad play away from losing it all. That's the problem with these arrogant, oversized short sellers. But I also say, God bless their narrow-minded souls. They pump stocks accidentally far better than, Roaring Kitty did with GME, which has crashed, and especially better than, coked out Zach Morris, who can't even pump effectively enough to pay off his coke habit for the week. And now he reminds me of Mark Wahlberg's character at the end of Boogie Nights. It's just sad. It's true, okay? I'm just going to be blunt with everybody. I'm so tired of people getting the wrong idea. Short sellers make longs feel bad. Shorts are like, no, this company is a scam. No, this company is going to go down. Like Dilution Tracker says this. I don't care what you say, short sellers. Most of you are shady AF. Most of you hide your losses. Your whole chat rooms are all groupthink. Everyone takes the same trade. And it's just very dangerous. But again, at the same time, I'm grateful. There's no short sellers listening to me. They all think that I'm wrong. And God bless them. Go do what you want. Get squeezed. I hope you have the biggest bake roll ever so that you can get squeezed the most so we can get more plays like FFIE. But I said, grateful for all the shorts who have picked up the slack. Congrats to all the longs. CRKN, AKN, Duo, Mark, BURU, GWAV. I didn't even bring up these other charts because there's just too many. MMV, by the way, is popping pre-market. We'll see what that does. But DUO was a nice short squeeze. Just to help you understand that there's so many freaking plays. If you ever wonder why I'm tired, it's because of plays like this. Like DUO was great. BURU. These are all junk companies, mind you. So don't get the wrong idea and try to hold them, too long. You're just trying to buy them for the spikes. And BURU was really choppy, but really nice spike here. I had a small loss on BURU. When you have a play like this, it's going to be too choppy for me. So, I'm explaining my wins, but I also had small losses. LIDR, this was just stupid. I got way too aggressive thinking that a short squeeze was going to continue and the momentum had dried up. So that was my mistake of the week. But BURU, I would try this again. I just got caught on one of these chops. So sometimes that happens. But for me, I'm just trying to take small gains along the way, as are my students. So congrats to Gabe, congrats to Cam, congrats to Dan, congrats to all these students. There's even more. Hertz. And, just going back to this, I really am grateful for the short sellers. Like, some people are like, why do you hate shorts so much? I don't. I think that they have the wrong strategy. I think that they risk too much. I was talking with Jack, even though, he finished slightly down on the week, but again, it's really a mental, just a really bad mental, it's really bad for you mentally. I don't know what the right word is. I'm not that smart. I'm not going to come up with a clinical diagnosis, but it's really, really bad for your health to be a short seller in plays like FFIE. And, what Jack and I were talking about, he's just made so much more, not necessarily money-wise, but percentage-wise, stress-wise, health-wise on his longs. And it's the shorts where it looks like it's so easy. It looks like it should go down. It looks like, this is just golden. But a lot of the time, or not a lot of the time, but some of the time, it's a fake out and it's a trap. Remember that line from Star Wars? It's a trap. And so you can choose, right? It's not that I'm never going to short sell again. I just think that it's very risky, very stressful, and most of you don't have the capital experience, know-how to pull it off. Even the top short sellers are losing. So that's why I talk about it. I'm not trying to rub it in. People are like, oh, you shouldn't rub in the big losses. It's all part of your education. I say this to Jack. I say this to Kyle. It's kind of funny where people forget that Jack and Kyle both started with me with a few $1,000s, okay? And I've been blunt with them all along, and I'll be blunt with you all along. This is how I create millionaires from scratch. It's not like, oh, you're rubbing salt in the wound. No, I'll tell them to their face that I think short selling is too dangerous and risky. I do tell them. But again, they've made millions on it. I've made millions on it. Everyone has to choose, okay? You choose what stress level. You choose what position size. But for me, I'm really happy, making $7,000, even with some losses on the week, more than I lose. And I'm really proud of so many students like this. I'm sorry if I didn't, call your name out. There's literally hundreds of students who were taking singles and doubles on plays like this, all long biased, and I'm very proud of you. But I do encourage you to mess with a short seller, and messing with them just involves asking them to show their trades publicly, which most of them don't want to do. Jack, Kyle, Lucas losing a few $100,000 each. That's bad, but there's short sellers. I know it's kind of funny because I talk to so many brokers and market makers. So I know these other short sellers have lost millions on plays like FFIE. Do they talk about it? No. So am I trying to create beef? No, I just want you to understand the dangers and the risks. And some people will say, well, it's dangerous if you hold these things too long on the long side too. Yes, which is why I teach trading very speculatively, very quick in and out, okay? You don't have to hodl. You don't have to short too aggressively with big size, and you don't have to hodl. Those people that do that, they post the biggest gains, so everyone wants to be like them, but I think that's wrong. Small gains do add up. You can trade safely. There's a saying, scared money doesn't make money. Yes, it does. 100% it does, because these stocks are so volatile, you can trade them scared. And as I always say, trading scared makes trading not so scary. And already I'm into six figures this year. Not perfect by any means, but I'm trading scared. I'm trading speculatively. And I really think that's a good way for you to be, especially as you're learning. So take what I say, to your heart. Ignore it. It's up to you. But I will tell you that we are in a beautiful market. You should be using stocks to trade breaking news. You should be using XGPT. Not that either of them are going to be perfect in every single one of the stocks that they call out, but it'll put these stocks on your watch list. And then the question becomes, how well prepared are you to capitalize? With BNED, I saw the breaking news. I knew immediately that this could run up on a Friday because it's heavily shorted. It's an activist investor because of this market environment. It's priced for bankruptcy, and it was already moving. So it's not a guessing game. I don't have to guess the news ahead of time. I don't have insider information. I react to the news. I react to the chart. And because of my preparation, I have a high odds chance of success, both on my entry, both on my exit. Okay? That was a well done, well executed trade on my part. And some people say, Tim, you make it look so easy. I've been doing this for 25 years. Okay? It's not a coincidence that I've created over 36 millionaires. It's not a coincidence that more times than not, I'm going to trade safely. This is something that I've practiced, something that I've optimized over 25 years. Lucas isn't even alive for 25 years, but he's made much more than me by being much more aggressive and much more focused on data. I am not the best trader. This trading that I have is not anywhere near best case scenario. I'm doing it with one laptop. My Wi-Fi is going up and down. I'm jet lagged. I've already been to a dozen countries in 2024. I'm living my life. So I want you to understand, many of these short sellers who don't show all their trades and they mysteriously go on vacation when you have these big short squeezes. Oh, I'm glad I was on vacation. Oh, I'm glad I took the day off. Shut up, you liars. Everyone knows that you're lying. Okay? They just don't want to say it to your face to bruise your precious ego, because you insecure leper short sellers are pathetic. But again, we have to thank the short sellers for being so pathetic and so shady and so insecure, because FFIE should never have spiked up this much. This is not a fundamental spike. This is a short squeeze. So short squeezes continue to be the biggest driver in this market, as it's been for months. Go watch my last, my charger just came out. My last 100 video lessons, okay? It's all the same, short squeezes. So be grateful for the shorts. Take advantage of it. Be grateful for, Friday afternoon short squeezes with news. And let's just keep, taking it one trade at a time. Please, I will link Jack's newsletter. I will link Stocks to Trade Breaking News. I will link XGPT. And I will link this blog post about my framework in the links below. Click them all. Use all the tools. Maximize, maximize, maximize. Capitalize, capitalize, capitalize. Leave a comment below. Let me know if this makes sense, and I'll see you guys in chat. Got a busy week. Hey, Tim Sykes here. Good morning. Wanted to do a video on BNED, why I did not hold it over the weekend. I think it's a good lesson. Sometimes these plays are going to spike fast. You never know if your goals are going to be met on a Friday during regular hours, or if your goals will be met Friday after hours, or ideally the next week. But when there's really powerful news on a heavily shorted stock like BNED is, especially even when I bought, I knew it was like moving fast. I tried to hold over the weekend. Okay. Let's just go over this in case you didn't see the alert, in case you don't understand what's going on. I said I'm buying this fast moving spiker on news of a big new investor right now as they're on the verge of bankruptcy. Now rumors of some deal which could be announced next week. Let's see how far this can go in this wild environment. Small dollar position, but big potential reward given the setup. And this was the news. Every single one of you should be using Stocks to Trade Breaking News. This was an SEC filing just of an investor acquiring a lot of shares. And when you have a company that's near bankruptcy, a company that is heavily shorted, especially in this environment where we're seeing ridiculous spikers within a few hours or days, you have to partake. And I didn't have the best entry. At 36 cents, like I was trying to get it in the low 30s. It just kept spiking so fast. I mean, the news came out right here. You can see here is actually around 20 cents a share. So the news came out right here in the 20s. And I saw it, I'm always interested in obviously late Friday news. But it was kind of choppy. Like it spiked up right away to 22, went up to 28, back down to 23. Like I'm watching it, but again, this is why I don't like buying too early on a Friday, because it's just very choppy. Imagine if you got like really aggressive here, buying it at 30, and then a few minutes later, you're down to 24. This is a nice, or not nice if you're long, but a ridiculous 20% drop in like 5 minutes. So I'm always interested in plays, but again, if it drops like that, I would have probably cut my losses, right? So you don't really want to chase. Then I saw it in here and it's like touching 30. And then right here is when I started to see, wait a minute, this has much more upside. And it started going parabolic. And I was trying to buy it right in here at like 32, 33. But you can see this is a 1 minute chart. I know some people like 5 minute charts or 15-minute charts. I mean, these things move so fast. I'm not going to have a 5 or 15-minute chart. In 3 minutes, it went from basically 30 cents up to 45 cents. This is a 50% gain in 3 minutes, okay? So I want you to understand when you're trading these things, just the ridiculous upside. When they're heavily shorted, you can see the big volume in this market with the right catalyst, and it just kept going. So I got in like in the middle of this crazy 3 minute run up, and it went all the way up to 55 here. Came back down, and actually here at 60. So I sold some in the 40s because I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. I have to reduce my position. It's always good to sell into strength. This was basically like 15 minutes, and then I was planning on holding the other shares over the weekend, but it just kept going. And at 58 cents, I'm just like, this is stupid, right? This is a ridiculous run up. Overall made a little over 40%, which is just awesome. And it did actually hit, 60 cents a share. I didn't know I was selling at the top. Some people were like, how did you time it so well? I didn't know, I didn't know that 60 would be the top. Oftentimes when I sell into a crazy run up like this, it keeps going. And then it's 70, 80 cents. And instead of people asking, how did I know that was the top? People are asking, why did you take profits too quickly? You never know what the stock is going to do. When it's up so much, it could keep going. It might fade, but you do know where your entry is. You do know where your goal is, and you do know where your profit is. So you might not know how far the stock can go, but you should know your own goals and your own limitations. And when I can make 40% in the afternoon, I'm going to take it, and I'm really proud of myself for not selling all into the run-up, trying to give it a chance, and then kind of being pushed to the brink of like insanity by the markets. This is a really good trade, and I really want you to learn from this. Like I was dead on that the short squeeze would happen. I was dead on that there was a lot of upside. Some people say, well, why did you sell in the 40s? You know, it went to 60. I think it's good to sell along the way. Obviously, everyone is different, but you get to choose how aggressive or how conservative you want to be. And for me, this is pretty good. So I'm proud to take it. And you can see here, actually, you know, it never got back to 60. Had trouble here at 46 all night. And now pre-market, here we are as I'm filming this, you know, it's back to 42. And it's just, I mean, it kind of wasted all of its excitement too early. You know, it shot like its entire like round of bullets, whatever analogy you want to say. When a stock goes from 20 to 60, a heavily shorted name, and you know, let's be, you know, real about this. Okay, they have a big new investor. You can see it's like being tweeted about, like people are sharing their Q1 letters where, you know, Greenhaven is very excited about BNED and it should be, you know, valued higher. And there's tweets here saying like Greenhaven reports a 9.9% stake exploring deals. So, you know, it's also like timely, right? Like a lot of deals, whether they're, you know, coming out of bankruptcy deals, mergers, acquisitions, going private deals, a lot of these deals are announced on Monday. So recognizing that it's a Friday afternoon, you know, they could have reported their stake anytime. I think it's kind of interesting that they chose to do it right on a Friday afternoon. You know, they're trying to create the short squeeze. They're trying to pump up the stock for whatever reason, for whatever deal they're exploring. So once you start to recognize like how corrupt the industry is, like how shady it is, will BNED ever do a deal? I don't know. I don't care. I just saw a short squeeze in action late Friday with the news, with the volume, with the momentum in a speculative market. This was like one of the easiest trades that I've done. My only real regret on this was that I didn't take a bigger position. But again, it was moving so fast. I actually tried to get 10,000 shares executed. I only got like 6,500. You know, this is an opportunity to use a small account to your advantage if you're prepared. If you know what you're doing, if you know that Fridays into the close are heavily, you know, favored short squeezes, if there's a catalyst, you know, if you understand that many deals are going to be announced on Monday or Tuesday the next week, if a deal gets announced at all, but you don't even have to hold through that. Like so many people think that it's like, oh, Tim, how do you know if there's a deal or not? I don't care. Okay? I don't play the guessing games. Is there a deal? Is there not a deal? Is the deal going to be at 50 cents? Is the deal going to be at $1? I couldn't care less. I'm in this for the price action and for the inefficiency. And many of you, you know, with small accounts can do this kind of trade without having to risk through the news. If a deal gets announced on Monday and it goes higher, fantastic. If no deal gets announced today and it goes lower, fantastic. I don't care. I played the high odds setup with my very small time period, right? Like it's a very small chunk of time. And I didn't expect to sell before the close. But when you have such a solid profit, you should take profits, okay? Whether you take partial profits, whether you take all profits, that's up to you. I'm always going to be, you know, the safe guy. In $1,000 on, you know, just to help you understand how much did I invest, 0.365 times 6,500, you know, put in roughly $2,400. Again, it was a partial position. I wanted more, but whether I put in 2,000 or 2,500 or even 3,000, it's a small position and you can still make $1,000. This is what, you know, the whole, you know, Friday newsletter is all about. Sorry, I have sumo wrestling ads. I was just in Japan with Jack. It's kind of funny. Jack is one of my students, over $12 million, and we did this little sumo wrestling thing. So now it's giving me ads for sumo wrestling, just in case you wonder. I'm just going to be real with you about everything. But, you know, this is solid. Whether you put in $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 and you make a few hundred or you make 1,000, this is the kind of setup that I love with weekend, you know, newsletters. It's a very small trade, but a very high odds trade given the setup. So I hope you learned. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you know, saw this, if you capitalized. I'm curious.